On Monday, we talked about how kids and teenagers may develop an unhealthy body image, but today we're looking at how that can turn into a life-threatening eating disorder. Dr. Jeannie Sykes joins us to tell us how these typically develop and what you need to look for. She's a registered dietitian at Cone Health Family Medicine Center and a member of the Cone Health Medical Group. Good morning.
Good morning.
So when it comes to eating disorders, there are many different types, are there not?
Sure, and the three main types of eating disorders are anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. Those are disorders for which we have diagnostic codes. So anorexia, of course, is characterized by very restrictive and inadequate eating. Bulimia by what we call compensatory behavior, like inducing vomiting or abusing laxatives after eating. And then binge eating disorder is eating a large amount of food in a discrete period of time, along with a sense of feeling out of control around food. And then there is also disordered eating, which doesn't necessarily meet the criteria for a diagnosis, but it is basically a compromised relationship with food that can be or is usually detrimental to health and well-being.
When you think about these eating disorders, they can have, even if they happen in someone's, early years, they can have lifelong effects, correct?
Absolutely, and a big part of the problem is that people don't always seek or get treatment that they need. So we are seeing now research that suggests the earlier we can intervene with eating disorders, the better the outcomes. So we really encourage that. And what I think is largely unappreciated by people who don't work with eating disorders is that this is about emotional dysregulation. So food and eating or not eating gets used as a tool to deal with very uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah, I know as a teenager, I had a friend who had an eating disorder, was diagnosed and went through treatment. And then years later in our life, she passed away because it had weakened her heart. She had had some problems and it had weakened her heart. And her parents at first didn't recognize the symptoms that she was having problems. So what do parents look for in their children?
Well, obviously weight loss or weight fluctuations going either direction.
Okay.
And with children, what we're looking at is where are they on the growth curve? And if they start crossing percentile lines, like they've gone from birth to age 5 or 6 or 9, pretty much on the same trajectory, and then all of a sudden there's a shift up or down, then that suggests something should be looked into. But of course, not just rejecting foods that they previously ate, noticing what they're eating, how much they're eating. One of the problems is in many households today, there's not a family sit-down meal, and what children are eating is not necessarily well monitored.
Do genetics contribute to eating disorders?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's it's very well established now that there's a genetic component. That doesn't mean there's a gene for anorexia or bulimia, but it means a person, for example, who has anorexia has a genetic makeup for a certain type of personality, and that can put him or her at increased risk for the disorder, and that risk can be heightened by the environment. For example, trauma in childhood or adulthood, dysfunctional family dynamics, sexual or emotional abuse, bullying, and even in childhood when there are important emotional needs that don't get met. These can all help to fuel an eating disorder.
Wow. There's a lot to take in and think about as parents. Well, thank you so much for being here with us this morning and really sharing with us this information. Dr. Sykes is going to be back on Friday to tell us more about this because there's so much that goes into this. You can find more information if you want on a healthy diet and nutrition by going to conehealth.com/healthy eating. And for more healthy lifestyles, tools, resources, classes too, go to conehealth.com/wellness-matters.
House Call on Fox 8 is sponsored by Cone Health.